To begin to talk about the history of Catholicism in Ireland, I would like to start in the present with this town. This is a town in the west of Ireland called Tuam, which is very close to where I come from myself, so I know it very well. I know many people who live in Tuam. And in the last, you may be aware, in the last month, yet again, Tuam has been in the global headlines because of a story which is in the early part of the last century, which really alleges that in a mother and baby home in this town between 1925 and 1961, almost 1,000 babies were killed by nuns. This is effectively what has been said, that the nuns killed 1,000 babies and buried them in a septic tank in the back. Now, is this credible or is it not credible? Whether it is credible or not, it is going around the world as if it were facts. And let's be clear about this. The same story emerged in 2014. No change in the present version, except that there is now an inquiry which has issued a preliminary report and simply repeated the same allegations. No news, no facts, no change in the evidence. And yet this story has gone around the world for the second time in 3 years, as though it were true, as though it were proven. There are many interesting aspects of this. First of all, it is alleged that the bodies of babies were found in this location. Well, this was an orphanage between 1925 and 1961. During that period, undoubtedly many babies died of natural causes and were buried on the site. Some of them are buried on the site, at least. It is not surprising if there were bones of human bones found there. In 1975, which is 42 years ago, 2 boys were playing on the site. One of them, his foot went through a part of the section of the ground on which they were playing, and they found below a kind of vault in which there were some bones. Maybe they thought, the boy said, 5 or 6 skeletons. And it continued because there was an orphanage. Everybody knew there had been an orphanage on this site, and it was not surprising for anybody at that time that there were human bones found on the site. And yet in 2014, this story was resurrected, as it were, by a local historian who wrote an article, and it became global news. Afterwards, she began to roll back a little from the versions which were being promoted globally, saying there's no evidence of any criminality. There's no evidence that there are 900 bodies. There's no evidence that the nuns are in any way culpable. The Associated Press, who published the story then, apologized for having published it and said it was untrue. Yet, in the last month, the same story has been resurrected. Now, it is very interesting that this commission, which was appointed to investigate, has not concluded its investigations, but it saw fit a month ago to issue a preliminary report, except that there is no new evidence in the preliminary report, which is about this long. It is 1 page. There is no evidence. Nothing is cited, except exactly what we knew in 2014. Why is it released now? Very simple. There is at the moment what is called a citizens' assembly, which is examining the question of abortion in Ireland, which will make recommendations to the government about Article 43.3 of the Constitution, which is the article which protects the life of the child in the womb. And there's a lot of pressure in the last year, since in fact the referendum on gay marriage, the next day.
We have the horrible examples of miscarried and aborted babies having their bodies thrown into the hospital incinerators, all right, by the thousands. And this gets no publicity whatsoever. Meanwhile, we hear all about Tuam Babies, which goes back to 1961, who died naturally. We're not hearing about these babies killed here and now deliberately, and their bodies thrown into hospital incinerators, and nobody knows about